We actually are live.
We never really planned anything, dude. It's just literally
No,
whatever just
dude,
happened.
remember when we first started talking about doing this? We're like, yo, we really need to get on like 10, 15 minutes before. We got to have our links ready. And now we
Nah, it's
just
all ad
roll
hoc.
out of
It's all
bed,
ad hoc.
hit the live
Yeah.
button. What's up, people?
Yeah.
Let me
Especially
see.
me and you. Me and you literally roll out of bed to do this
I
pod.
am, bro. I'm right here.
You know, it's
All right, we're
funny. The
live now.
guys who have nothing but time during the day, they're the ones missing today. You
It's
know,
true. It's true. Like,
me
what
and
the hell is
you.
Amit? What the hell is Amit doing today? No job, no boss, no responsibilities. And he's like, yo, it's getting really hard to be around at 7 p.m. What? What are we talking about here?
It's like ask your boss for a day off or something.
Yeah, ask your boss for a day. I could, man, you don't understand. I was I left my, I think I was telling you the story where I left my ID the other day. Did I tell you guys that story?
Mm-mm.
So I left my ID. It's a funny story that actually, but I left my ID and I ended up being like 5 minutes late. You don't understand. The whole world collapses if I'm 5 minutes late because there's like 12 hours of work to do in 10 hours and you got to be really fast and everything's high pressure. So imagine trying to miss a day. I can't even imagine. Yeah, I was saying, Kris, before we went on, real John, sorry. I was like, yo, Kris is in pole position. He's like, I'm always in the pole position. Let's see. What's this? No, I'm not actually doing a victory dance. I wanted to accumulate some more. I've got this cash that's just sitting on the freaking side, waiting to pick up like another one or maybe two Bitcoins if it does what it needs to do, which is finally capitulate. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about that today. So no, I'm not
Man, you
looking
should
for it to go off to the
celebrate.
races. I'm not going to celebrate right now. I want to retire. I don't want to celebrate.
Yeah.
You got
Nah,
your
but
wife
you
here?
should celebrate, dude. You hit. My wife's like, "Do you want water?" Like, she's
Yo,
definitely
your wife
producer
is
wife.
freaking awesome, man. Are we
She
gonna meet her
is.
in Vegas?
Yes.
She's coming to Vegas.
No, she's not coming to Vegas.
Oh,
Eventually y'all will meet her, but not right now. Yeah.
that'd be cool. What's up,
Yeah.
Silva? Let's say hi to everybody
Yeah.
in the chat real quick. Let's see who's here. I
Yeah.
was first, second, and third today. I
I
was fucking around. First, second, and third. We got Heinzie Ketchup. What's up, Heinzie? Yes, Bitcoin does have a boner today. Needs to go down. Needs to relax. Needs
thought
to
you'd be
go.
happy, man. Why are you sad that it's
It's
going
like
up?
someone was commenting. Am I buying Enphase today? Enphase is finally under $100. Finally back under $100, and it makes me believe that the market does not understand this company either. It's just they didn't get the story. I thought, oh man, it's too late now. Everyone's kind of onto Enphase. If you remember 2021, it was kind of like the safe haven for a lot of money for a long time. It was just this super resilient stock. It's like, oh, these guys are buying and holding long term. Nope. So I'm actually happy about it. Haven't had a chance to buy. I literally just woke up, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes ago. But yeah, as soon as I get a chance, mate. And if Bitcoin's not going to do what I need it to do, or at least in the time frame, then I might have to deploy some of that capital because there is a cost of not deploying the capital now at this point with the market where it's at. And I'm like, there's only so much I can hold off and wait for Bitcoin. So I might have to cut off some of those funds and redeploy it somewhere else. And Enphase at $96. I mean, that's mildly. That's part of what I wanted to get to today.
But like the thing that I don't get, Carlos, is that
Yep.
aren't you worried about the cyclicality of this business? Like I've seen this happen in the past where solar has this wave of euphoria, everything just goes crazy to the moon, and then eventually that euphoria comes back and it just bites everyone. This industry is one of those things that you have these peaks and these valleys, and the thing is like the distance between the peak and the valley is pretty big. So why would you want to be on the other end of that, like trying to catch that valley? Like, you know what I mean? Like right now, you can tell demand for solar is going to be down across the board because of high interest rates. Why not wait until interest rates come down to a point where it makes sense to go into the trade again?
All right. Well, to answer your question, I want thousands of shares of
Mhm.
Enphase, thousands with an S. And so the only way I can do that is by accumulating over a long period of time because I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars like Mr. TJ the Wheel Deal can come in and scoop up 8,000 shares, right? So I need
Yeah.
time. I need time to accumulate. You can be right. I think you can be right, but in investing, you also have to be early. The earlier you are, the less the less it matters the price that you buy because you can accumulate the shares. So yes, you're right. Historically, solar has been really cyclical, but You have to understand, just in the last 4 years, since 2020, since the boost in Tesla that has created a lot of the demand for EVs, which has also been pushing the demand for solar, we've reached a turning point now. We are now, I think now that 2020 would signal like the bottom of the S curve, where the S curve starts to rise. You're right that interest rates do keep people holding back, but what you're seeing is a pent up demand. It's people waiting for the right opportunity. We're no longer having to justify whether it's a valid investment or not. People are just looking to wait for the right time to do it. And from all of the installers that we've talked to, there is a lot of pent up demand that they have. People are just waiting for the right financial or the right credit landscape. So I don't think we're in a place where people need to justify, is solar a worthy investment or not. It's a matter of how long it's going to take you to get back that initial investment. But if you know that you want solar, all you're doing is waiting to get a better rate on the loan, and you're going to pull the trigger on that. If you have an EV, you've already looked at solar. If you looked at solar, you're probably already looking at an EV. This is not about having to justify whether it's worthy or not. This is about people looking for the right environment. So these are the companies that are going to benefit from that when that spigot actually opens up. And we are still very, very early in the overall adoption. So there are plenty of customers. They're still there. There's plenty of customers for a lot of companies to just basically grow 50%, 100% year over year until we reach a plateau. By the time we reach a plateau, you're talking about, I mean, right now, Australia is, I think, 40 or 30% penetration. The amount of installs that this guy from Australia is doing in basically a city that's comparable to like what New York City would be. They're doing like 100 or something installs a month. I mean, do you have any idea how much money this company is making? They're buying like $10 million worth of Enphase inverters for like half a year. And they have the warehouse so that they basically act like their own distributor. The guy showed us a video, which we wish like it happened after we did the live stream, which the next time we talk to this guy, we're going to have him do a factory walk, a factory tour. The guy had something like 300 Enphase batteries just sitting on pallets, like thousands of pounds of Enphase batteries, just ready to go, ready to deploy. It's like, he's like, we can't keep up with the demand. And an ecosystem of secondary installers have opened up around him for the surplus that he can't handle. And so he's like, this is a booming business right now. Rates have slowed things down a bit, but they haven't stopped it. And Enphase hasn't stopped what their innovation and with what they're doing. So I did want to look at some of what you guys talked about yesterday, because I had the experience that some people have watching our podcast. Like I was driving to work and I was listening to you guys, and I'm sitting there yelling at why would you say that? Oh man, if I was on that podcast, So I'd love to talk about some of the points that were made yesterday, or some of those bear points, and then especially the question about Tesla that somebody had, which I think deserved like a more thorough answer.
Okay.
Let me see. Let's just take a look at the chat for a second. Why isn't the here? Let's just go back a little bit. Holy God, the green candle. Yeah, the God candle. Let's take a look at it. Actually, can you pull up a BTC chart?
Like what time frame?
Just daily, because I think we had a nice one.
Okay.
I'm just trying to.
Let me share my screen.
What is the ideal time frame for retirement? Well, me I'm now past my mid 40s. I'm looking for 2 years for me, 2 to 3 years. But I've been investing for this moment since like 2020, really hardcore since 2020. I've been investing for this. Oh, the God candle.
So this is the 1 day chart right here for Bitcoin. Chart.
What was
it jumped up to like 3,400. I mean, at 34,000.
That's a big jump, man.
Yeah,
this is partially what I don't understand about like even you and AMIT's bear case. This asset jumped thousands of dollars in the course of a day. So if you were holding one Bitcoin, if you spent 30 grand or whatever, $25,000, you made $6,000 in a single day.
Yeah, but it cuts both ways too, man. When things like drop from 65 to like 436, 50% drawdown in less than a couple of months.
Sure, but that's a couple of months. You've seen that happen in some of these more speculative plays in like the course of a week or in the course of a single earnings. See, every 4 quarters, every year, you have 4 quarters where there's a possibility of a massive drop, or a massive rally with respect to earnings.
It's volatile. It's volatile. Yeah. I'll say this: the thing with Bitcoin is that it's hard for me to invest, because remember, the way I look at this is investing, right? So it's hard for me to invest in something if I don't know the business case behind it. Like that is how I invest. If I see a company, before I look at the stock price, I try to understand like, okay, what does that company do? What's the value of it? Like, how does it generate more future returns? And so when it comes to Bitcoin, like I can't get around the fact that it's literally just the greater fool theory, right? Where it's just like, oh, the reason why it's valued at 33,000 is because there's a guy on the other end willing to pay for a Bitcoin at 33,000
But those are all,
versus,
I mean, those are all really old
yeah.
sort of arguments. I mean, just even taking the fact that El Salvador switched their official currency to that, this greater fool theory kind of goes out the window when you think about that. I mean, when you think about the fact that countries are considering switching over to that, and even look, even the fact that the money that you had in the bank that you thought was safe, the fiat currency that you had safe from 2020 on, has been being deflated over the last few years as they printed more money. That's taking money away from you. You're losing money on that investment, thinking cash is king, right? Cash is king. Cash is the safest place. Just even having a hard asset that cannot be deflated. I mean, you could argue that it is technically every time new Bitcoins are introduced into the system, but there's still a finite supply. And we'll be dead by the time the last Bitcoins are mined, but we've recently crossed the 19 million threshold. We were like at 18 something. So now we're at 19 million. So you basically have 2 million more Bitcoin that are going to be deployed over the next, 30 years. And then there's no more after that. And it's not like that video we saw of those kids in Kenya finding that massive rock of gold. You're never going to dig up and find any more Bitcoin.
I mean, you never know, dude. One day maybe Satoshi Nakamoto
Satoshi
comes out and be like, "Gotcha, you've been punked."
Like, what do you think's on this?
Because I mean, isn't that the whole thing too? Like, there's like a whole, I don't know, like a shit ton of Bitcoin that's like kept on like one or two wallets or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
There's a place you can track because all the stuff is a public ledger. You can track, like, say how many Bitcoins are held by this address. You don't necessarily know who's holding the address. I forgot, there was a website, Benjamin Cowan talks about it a lot, where you could track like the whales. It's basically like whale watchers, and you can watch and see, and all their buys and sells are public, and you can see that some accounts have been dormant for like 7 years, 8 years, holding thousands of Bitcoin. And you can tell what they're doing. Yes, so there is a lot of large holders. I mean, Michael Saylor now is getting up there too. He's got 100 and something thousand Bitcoins. I mean, if this thing does go to, even if it went to 100,000, this guy is probably the richest guy in the world. Or you could argue. Let me just go through some of these comments. I think Enphase earnings is not as bad as expected. Can rally up to 105, 110. I don't think so. Well, you could argue that some of this is baked in. But I don't think so. I never underestimate the especially on the way down, the how far it can drop off of any one specific metric. I mean, look at what happens to Tesla. If gross automotive margins aren't what the street thinks, boom, even everything else could be great. But if they don't see that one number, boom, it tanks. So we could see $80 again. I'd be happy.
Did you ever see this guy on you? Did you ever see this guy on YouTube who, like 10 years ago, he put out like, please just buy like $1 of Bitcoin. And right now he's like, I think a multimillionaire. This guy right here. Hold on. Have you seen this?
Pull it up.
There. This guy, Bitcoin update. This is from 10 years ago, May of 2023. I mean, bro, all you had to do is just listen to this one guy, man.
But here's
one guy.
This is a great example because that guy at that time sounded absolutely ridiculous. But what I was saying earlier, he was just super early. The earlier you are on a company, the more crazy you sound. I think that's a pretty good quote for today. The earlier you are in an investment, the crazier you sound. So I don't even think we're that early on Bitcoin anymore, but it's amazing to me how people still say you're crazy, you're a Bitcoin maxi, or whatever they call you. There's all these terms for people like me that believe in the technology and the currency and the investment. But if you had just listened to that guy, if you just put $10 in Bitcoin 10 years ago, I mean, what would that be worth today? It's got to be worth a lot of freaking money. It's like Apple. I forgot what VITALY and I were talking because his dad kept saying, to buy real estate versus whatever. So we did a calculation. If you put 100,000 into a home at the time that his dad was saying to do that versus putting it into Apple, we calculated that same investment in Apple would have been $63 million today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the math. The math just tells you how you have bought it in whatever it was, the late 90s or early 2000s, put 100,000
Yeah.
into Apple, sit on it for whatever. You wake up one day, you've got $63 million. I mean, this is no joke. And I don't know how you guys plan to retire, but you can't do it on income. You can't do it on income. So I'm trying to be as early as possible, considering I have a much shorter, look at Mint. Considering I have a much shorter time horizon for myself. Get this guy out of here. How do we kick this guy out of here? Somebody with a wrench, kick him, kick him out. Amit, what are you doing? What if you're on the chat? Why aren't you in here, Amit? We should pull one of those. No more talking till Amit joins the stream.
I'm gonna block him real quick.
Just block.
I'm gonna mute him.
They're gonna mute him.
Hold on one second.
BTC. Yes, we're not. I'm not saying we're early anymore. We're not saying that we're early anymore, but we're saying that there's still so much potential upside, and it's amazing to me. So, all right, let me go back to this.
I put Amit on mute for 5 minutes.
That's hysterical. All right, I'm gonna share this and share the audio tab. We're gonna pull one of those. You ever watch what's his name? Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, I watch Jimmy Dore.
He frequently does that where he takes his own podcast and then watches it. We're doing it like an Inception. Maybe that's what I should have called the video today, doing it Inception. Because I do want to just get into some of this Enphase stuff, because people were saying that they would have loved to hear.
Right. Palantir is, at the end of the day, a software company. And to be honest, it's a bit of a meme stock. There's a lot of people that get into this stock following a trend. Whereas solar, if the numbers don't reflect that optimism, it's gonna go down. So the key here is going to be looking at the numbers that are coming out. And what's funny is the companies are coming out and literally telling you we are going to have a weak time in the next 6 to 9 months, right? And even further out, that material weakness is going to really impact.
I sound like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, you sound like that. You do.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever put him on 2x? You put him on 2x, you can't. You just can't.
It's like a Tommy gun.
Basically, just words, verbs, adjectives.
So the question that I would pose to a lot of these people is, looking at the numbers that they're showing right now, backwards, maybe it looks like, hey, this could be some good value. But if they're telling you like, hey, listen, next year next quarter, not even next year, next quarter, we may end up doing $200-300 million less. Just realize that the company is telling you we're not going to do good. So why are you going to try?
Okay, so your question is, why would you? You're telling you that the company's not going to hold on. Which Kris, who I have to remove? So you're saying like the company's telling you that they're not going to do well, but it goes back to what I was saying. People once they get a solar system installed on their house, it's not like it's not like you return it. You don't return it. You don't get rid of it. Right. And every time that you have one, people do ask you about it. It's very much like seeing EVs out on the road. People ask you about it, or people that have EVs say, hey, do you have solar? There's a slow a slow adoption rate, as like the word of mouth takes time to spread. But you only increase adoption as these people talk to their neighbors, or even when your neighbors come by and they see the system on your house, they ask you questions about it. I get probably a question a month about it. Somebody walking by asking me about solar or about the EVs. My next door neighbors in particular that I share a fence with, they'll pop over and be like, oh, how's that working for you? Or some of them have tried, but they don't have necessarily the right type of roof. So my question is, especially with all of the government incentives that are pushing us in this direction, why would you think that either solar would flatline or that it would actually decline? The government is telling you that they want all EVs by whatever, 2030, 2035, I think they said. Or maybe it was a lower threshold, like 50%. But the government is subsidizing and investing and incentivizing people to go in this direction. That's not a headwind, that's a tailwind.
Well, I mean, to me, there's a couple of things that really make this like not the greatest thing to be in. So number one, you're absolutely right that there is definitely a push towards more, renewables. So I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But I think you guys are woefully like, well, you know what? I think you guys are overly optimistic on the prospects of one company dominating too much of the market share when there are competitors that are likely to commoditize this. So when I look at the solar industry in general, the way that I interpret it is, well, the panels themselves were able to be commoditized. Mm-hmm. Why can't the microinverters be commoditized? And then at the same time, unlike solar panels, well, I mean, just like solar panels, actually, you had competing solar panel technologies where you had monocrystalline, polycrystalline. Mm-hmm. So what ends up happening is you're going to see that same thing where you have competing technologies in string inverters and power optimizers there too. So I'm not disagreeing that solar can be a big thing. I'm just saying, hey, from a business value perspective, I don't see Enphase being that market dominant leader for years to come, especially with other companies creating products that may end up undercutting them, and that margin may end up getting compressed severely. So right now, Enphase has some of the best margins, if not the best margins,
50,
in the
50,
entire solar
54%.
industry.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is
But
kind of
again,
crazy.
I want to
Yeah.
stop you there, because the part that I think I was really looking at this, and I was looking at some of the comments that you made on Twitter. I think the part that we're not agreeing on, or that maybe you're not seeing, is that you're ignoring the installer that needs to install these systems on the people's roofs. It's not about undercutting them. They're not necessarily looking for the best price on the gear. What they're looking for is they're looking for the maximum return on their invested time. So they want to come to your house. They want to spend as little time as possible installing it, both so that they can get more installs per month, but also so that they can limit the impact and the footprint that they have on the customer, right? Then after that, they want the minimal contact with that customer from that point on. So if anything goes wrong with the system, they want a company that's going to be able to quickly deploy any replacement parts needed, RMA, very quickly, and get the parts to the customer, and also installed very quickly. So that's the part that I think you're missing, is that these products are not competing just on specifications or price. There's the installer there that has to make that decision, and a lot of that's decided by the distributors. When we spoke to the last installer, he was telling us basically the distributors work out the deals with the companies, and they are the ones that buy these inverters directly from Enphase. And then there's a slight markup, obviously, because they're selling massive units, so they have a very small markup that they pass on to these guys. The larger volumes that they order, the closer they get to that same cost of the distributor, and then that's when they then further sell them to. Now they get sold to to the customers. But you have to understand the amount of inventory that these guys are holding, the amount of training that's necessary. Each one of these systems requires you to really understand how they work. And it's not always because, and I know this just from the alarm business, when I was working the alarm business, like I understood technically how the systems work, but there's something that happens when you install in each person's house or each location, that the way that these systems operate, you have to, they have their own personality. You understand like the types of things that go wrong with this system, or the advantages and disadvantages of each. Once you learn that, it's very difficult. That learning curve of each of the different manufacturers is steep, and it's a very capital intensive thing with respect to the training on the technician side, and learning what the ins and outs of each system are. It costs you as an installer a lot of time. And so if you've already got something going great, well, you have a great deal with Enphase, you have the inverters are coming in, they're at the price point that you want, you're having no problem selling them, you have no problems with the installation. It's like a 2 or 3 day install, because you understand how those systems work. Then once you install them, you have no problems with any of them, or like you said, an incredibly tiny failure rate. It's like less than half of 1% of all Enphase microinverters worldwide fail. So granted, as they deploy more, the actual number will be higher, but it's still such a small percentage. And when it does fail, I'm sure you remember, I don't know if we talked to you about this, that Battery was able to reduce the amount of the response time that an installer would get from when they called Enphase with a problem by 2 minutes. This was something that he was really proud of. It was a metric that he was proud of. So that means if I'm an installer and I do have a problem and I call Enphase when I'm on the job site, hey, I'm having a problem with this inverter, blah, 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 I want to RMA it. That's 2 minutes less that person had to wait. They removed people from the line so you get directly to the person. Those things, I cannot tell you if you're the company that's sending these people out to service calls, because service calls are never things that you plan for. They're things that come up and they have to be added to your already scheduled work. The less time that you spend at the customer's house, the happier that they are, and the less money that you're losing. These are things that they're the intangibles that become really hard to sit and put on a spreadsheet. This is why even if Hoy Miles has an inverter that is equivalent and warranty wise to Enphase, it is still very hard to get an entire network of installers, and that's what Enphase is going for. They've increased their installer network by, to think, almost 4,000 installers, and they're like one of the largest, have one of the largest installer networks. That's where it gets really hard. And typically with those companies, and I've seen this happen even in the alarm business, when the companies get really big, one or two of the guys from that company might split off and become a specialized version and do, and have their own company. And what are they going to use? What are they going to use if they do split off from the main company? I'm saying when I was working in alarms, I saw this happen a lot. It's very, very hard to switch over from another company. And it's not even that they're being stubborn or being difficult. Enphase has made it a point that that's what they were going for. So they've targeted that specific. They're not looking at the end customer. They're looking to give the installers the absolute best experience possible so that they can maintain their business. So if they're working to support the businesses that install them, they make them brand ambassadors in a way that the loyalty is very, very hard to break. That's something that I don't think you're fully taking into account when you think that
Mhm.
Chinese maker is going to come in and just make a microinverter that's cheaper, and they're going to say, yeah, we'll just switch our entire company, get rid of all of our backlog inventory, and send all of our installers to get trained on that specific system. Because even if you switch to Hoy Miles, right, you now have to figure out how do the Hoy Miles inverters integrate with Tesla Powerwall? How do they integrate with with an Enphase battery? How do they integrate with other systems? Because they need to play sometimes in the same ecosystem. These are really big challenges for the installers that they have to absorb. Enphase and Hoy Miles can't do that for them. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, from what I can, based on my DD, the Hoy Miles, not just Hoy Miles, but there's other companies that are creating products right now that are actually much easier to install than the Enphase system is. Like they have wireless connectivity to something called a DTU that plugs right into the wall. It's got wireless connectivity. It's easy. The price point is actually more attractive. So even with installers, I'm seeing that, hey, installers are choosing these other competitors because of all the advantages that they have versus Enphase. I think, and in my opinion,
Who's choosing these competitors over Enphase?
no, like installers. The installers are seeing that they
But
can eke
who?
out a higher profit margin, huh?
But again, profit
Yeah.
margin in the short term could bite you in the ass in the long term if you have problems with these systems down the line. So who are these installers that are coming out and saying, you know what, Hoy Miles is a
There's plenty,
superior
man.
product?
There's plenty that are coming out.
I'd love
Because
to
even
see
when
one
you
of
guys asked, about Hoy Miles, the guy said it like, yeah, Hoy Miles is a good company, it's a reputable company. They just haven't been around in the US long enough for a lot of people to notice it. Like here's something that, like, the other thing that and maybe you can help clarify. This right here is some of the newer technology that I'm seeing where you have a micro inverter that has multiple inputs that goes all the way up to 3,000 watts, right? Where now you have 8 panels per unit that can be connected. And so you only need literally just like maybe 2 or 3 of these things, and you get a 6K. Like, let's say you wanted to do like a 12 kilowatt system, right?
Mhm. You would
You
only need
only
like
need 4. You would only
I know,
need
but
4 of these.
when you say you only
Yeah.
need, understand it. The reason why Enphase puts inverters on every panel is because that distributes your risk in terms of points of failure. So if one micro inverter goes down, you lose the energy production of that one panel.
Yeah, but
If you've got 8 panels daisy chained or paralleled into that one inverter, and that one inverter goes down, let's look at the failure rate of what that inverter is. If that inverter goes down, you lose the production of all the panels on that. This is basically they're trying to find the midpoint between Enphase and SolarEdge. SolarEdge brings all the panels into one inverter. And if that one inverter goes down, you don't have a system until it's repaired. But it's also very expensive. It's maybe $5,000 for one SolarEdge inverter. And
they're cheap, man. I'm looking at Solar Edge. Yeah.
depending on
Yeah.
the size of the system and the kilowatt capability. So that's what you have on that side. Enphase goes the other way, and they say put an inverter on every panel, so that this way you completely distribute your risk. And so if one panel goes down, you're good. You still have your energy production, especially for large systems. It's a lot of power. So what they're doing is they're trying to find the midpoint. They're saying, well, instead of all or nothing, let's just get an inverter that has 6 inputs or 4 inputs or 8 inputs or whatever it is,
Yeah, I mean, look at this solar. Here's a Solar Edge one, right? So I'm not. Hold on one second. And believe it or not, you could order it on Amazon, which I didn't even know you could. But here's like one from Solar Edge, right? $1,200. So it's not a very expensive value proposition for this thing to be replaced. Maybe the installers have to do the replacing on this stuff.
Right.
But like everywhere I'm looking, I'm seeing inverters that are just everywhere. So I don't know, man. I think this thing is being commoditized slowly. And I know what you're saying with like, oh, a lot of utilities, they really like it. But I'm seeing, as far as I can tell,
nobody's going on Amazon to buy microinverters, dude. This is the
No, no,
thing.
I'm
This
not.
is
I'm
not
not.
a
I
retail.
just clicked on. I
I
just
know, but
clicked
this
on
is
it.
not
That's
a.
why.
This is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. This is like maybe the do-it-yourself guy at home who wants to buy. Like, you're not buying microinverters from fucking Amazon and getting that delivered to your house. The fact that they're even available on Amazon, this is stuff that goes to a distributor, man. Like, and you go and the companies go directly to them. It's like I have a fridge here. This fridge back here that I'm trying to get fixed. This guy right here, this guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I know exactly what's wrong with it. I know exactly what's wrong with it. Like, I have a bad compressor. I can go order the compressor right now. The reason I can't fix that myself is because I need a license to be able to get the Freon. The Freon that goes in that actually makes it cold. I can't buy it because I need a license. So I have to go through a licensed installer or refrigerator repair company so that they can come and recharge that because they won't physically give me the Freon. It's the same sort of deal. It's like there's levels to this, man. You're not just gonna go fixing this shit yourself, like
The
installing
the one
inverters on
the
the
one
roof
thing
by
is
yourself.
Hoy Miles does do a 25-year guarantee on their inverters also. So that's not a thing that like, oh, that's a you know a non a non-equivalence. And the thing that people keep saying, like, installers have to carry the risk for the next 10 to 20 years. No, it's the warranty of the inverter itself that's guaranteed. So you have to just reach out to the company that supplied you that, not the installer, as I know.
No,
Like right
you
now,
do. No, you
not
do. You do. You have to go to the
no
installer.
no, I'm saying the installer is the one that ends up like replacing your thing, right? But they're gonna
Yeah,
charge you
yeah.
for it, right?
No, no, but that's another thing. Enphase covers that cost. So they cover, I think, up to $180 per hour that you are
Mhm.
out repairing. This is another reason why they're incentivized to make sure that they limit the amount of time the installer is there. So let's say when my one of my inverters went down, I called the installer company. I said, "Hey, I'm getting a problem with my system. Can you check this one panel?" They log into your system remotely. They check it.
Mhm.
They run a diagnostic remote, and they go, "Yes, the panels of the system is bad." They call Enphase. Enphase sends them a replacement. The next day, they come to my house, pull the other one down, put the new one in, and then they leave. Enphase
Mhm.
reimburses them for all the time that they spent
But
RMA.
what if they go bankrupt? Then what?
Who? If they go,
The
if that
installer.
company, oh no, if that company goes bankrupt, I'm not sure exactly how that would work. I'd have to look at what the contract is.
Because I'm
Um,
seeing a lot of that too, like installers going bankrupt all over the place. So it's like I don't know why, but the thing is, like, then they're technically off the hook, and then you just have to deal with
oh, I'm sure.
the
I'm sure that they would be a way for me to have. I'd have to go directly to Enphase, or what I would probably do then is just contact another installer that would take over my system. Like
Mhm.
that's what happened. That used to happen with us when I was in the alarm business. There was plenty of companies, there was plenty of customers that had alarms installed by other companies and they were no longer in business. So they'd call us up. And what I would do is I'd go to their house. And if I could log into their account, like there was like a master installer password that would allow me, like a manufacturer's master password that would allow me into the alarm panel. If it didn't allow me into the
Mhm.
alarm panel, I'd have to pull that panel off the wall and replace it with one of our own. But if they did allow me into it, I could go back in and reprogram it to talk to the central station that we were working with. And I would just basically have that customer port it over to us. And we would then take over the monthly monitoring for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rango's saying Enphase would assign you another installer. I don't know that it would be Enphase specifically. I don't know. I don't know that it would be them because Enphase didn't assign me these guys, but I would, I would just contact
Someone's like,
local in the
Sun
area.
Power panels have a warranty fund. Well, then
I don't know if what
Sun,
about a company
Sun
that's so look,
yeah,
Sun Power is good too. I have and look, here's the thing. I haven't been able to actually sell an Enphase system. I've been telling people about it, but most of them have gone with Tesla Solar, to be honest.
this is the problem with like look at Sun Power right now. Sun Power, it's also another TJ Rogers company, right? I keep seeing the same thing with the cyclicality where you have these huge bouts of euphoria in which everything goes right. And then all of a sudden everything goes wrong. And then it's like another cycle. And I
Yeah, I
think that
thought it.
we're on the tail end of this.
I know,
Yeah.
but understand that every time it's like Bitcoin. Every time we go through this cycle, there's different waves of adoption, and like we also haven't had the amount of incentives that have been being put forth to push this technology has not been at the
Yeah.
level that it's at right now. And so now the government is saying we need, and we also understand as a people, as citizens, we understand the need to have energy independence as a part of national security at this point. And I think when you combine the inflation, the incentives, plus the rising costs of power, the bull case for just getting solar it writes itself. It's just a matter of the affordability. This is the same argument that we have with EVs. It's the affordability. If solar was cheaper to install everybody would get it. This is part of what Warren Redlick was saying about Tesla. At a certain point, you could see them having a version of the bot that is designed specifically to install solar. Like, maybe a spider-looking design that could climb up your walls and get on the roof and install the solar to bring the cost down. Because a lot of the cost of the system install is the labor. This is one of the reasons why Enphase designing a system that is very quick to install. Even if you remove 1 day from the install, you've saved a lot of money on the labor costs, and you've also increased the amount of installs that the installer company can do.
I mean, that's Carlos. That's one of those things that, like, dude, any other inverter company is the same exact thing. You're literally just. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the micro side, where you just replace the micro inverter, you connect all the connectors back, you connect it to the DTU again, and boom, you're back up and normal. I mean, I don't think any single solar system has a situation where they're going to have multi-day outages. Literally, it's just, especially from inverter.
I'm not saying multi-day outages. I'm saying multi-day installs. And understand, the more complex systems, like if you have, depending on the number of batteries that you have and the way that you are routing that power. Say if you have a bunch of EVs and you need to be routing power to them, or you want to work with energy arbitrage, when to be sending power back and forth to the grid, you need to manage that. And the IQ8s, like the other series, they have other not advantages, but they have other abilities that some of the older inverters don't have, like the ability to run when there's no power at all. Like right now, if my system goes down, if the power goes out in my neighborhood, my solar panels have to be shut down, otherwise they're energizing a grid that is supposed to be dead. So if guys are working on this somewhere in the area, my panels could shock those guys, and so legally you have to shut that down. So you need to program all of that. You don't just have the system and everything plugged in. You also then have to program it to design how that system is going to work.
I know, but the competition is doing the same thing. I just, you know what, I guess that's the thing that's going to be, and this is where we both disagree on this specific company, right? Like, based on your due diligence, you think that Enphase has a good potential future, because there's so many people that are adopting it, and they're one of the crucial factors in that. My thing is, no, they're not a crucial part of the solar energy future. They're just another commodity provider that they got lucky in that they were one of the first ones to really sell microinverters successfully and actually make it like a product that's working. But yeah, I think based on research that I'm doing, I'm just seeing that this industry is going to be heavily commoditized and the profits are going to be competed away, in which case the Enphase margins that you're seeing today are not going to be there in the future. And so we'll see what happens, man. It'll be an interesting couple of years.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting couple of years to see how it plays out and like who was right, who was wrong, and to what degree. Yeah. My bullishness on this comes from a number of factors. It comes from, first of all, just being really into the tech and understanding it and owning it myself. Number two, it comes from my own experience working in that field from the other side of it, being the installer. The company that I worked for, is still using the same company that we used 10 years ago or whatever it was. It was actually maybe more like 20 years ago. I was working for them in like 2000, 2001. They're still using the same company and installing the same model alarm that I installed back then. Why? Because it's just easier. It just works. Why am I going to bother switching to a different company? All my inventory is there. All my guys are trained on it. And there are other systems that work just as good. But it's really hard to get these companies to change. And that's why I've been saying forever that Enphase's moat is the installers. That's why I've been saying forever Enphase does not need to advertise to customers. Customers don't know and don't give a shit what's on their roof. They just want to know that they have a $0 bill and that they're not going to have any issues with the system. And if the power goes down, it's reliable. That's all they care about. And so
to me, it's the opposite, where I just think the installers are going to choose whichever one that pats their margins the most. Like, if they can get an inverter that's going to increase their margins by 20, 30, 40, 50%, then that's the one that they're going to go with. They're not necessarily going to say, yeah, you know what? I want to provide the customer with the best quality, and this is the only thing. And
that's assuming that the installer is making a majority of their profit from the margins on the inverters, and it's not. The majority of I've worked it out with these guys, with these installers. The difference between like a SolarEdge system, which is cheaper to buy and has fewer components than an Enphase system, which is considered the premium brand, is a few $100s. So maybe like $1,000 per system. That's not where they're making their money. It's the labor where they're making their money. That's how the installers are making money. It's from the labor costs. It's not from the markups on the inventory. It's not
No,
from
no.
a
I
market
mean,
perspective.
dude, from what I know, these guys, they sell based on like a
Per
quote,
kilowatt
right? So
hour.
you,
Yeah.
well, yeah, what happens is you say, hey, I want a 10 kilowatt system. What is the quote that you're going to give me for this, right? So it's like $25,000, and however they accomplish it, whether they use one guy, two guys, an army of 10 guys to install those solar panels, their margins are going to be based on the labor and the equipment, right? So what you're saying is absolutely right.
The equipment
But
part is really small. What they want is they want to go in there and they want to have everything already in the factory, and they want to say, pull these parts off the shelf, go to this guy's house, and within a day or a day and a half, get the system up and
right,
running.
but that's what I'm trying to say.
How
That
quickly can we
other
deploy this, right? Because they don't make money by keeping you there. They don't make as much money keeping you at a house for 3 days as they would if they, or say 3 days versus having you do an extra install within that same amount of time. So they need to install and deploy as many systems as possible. And this is part of the thing that I say, like one of the reasons why alarm companies are so successful is because you can almost give the alarm away for free because you get that monthly monitoring service. And that's one thing where I would love to see is that they have some sort of monthly service that you tie people into, even if it's $2, $3, $4 a month, a monitoring something where you can charge a monitoring fee to each of your clients every month. And you would be able to further monetize that customer, and that would allow you to bring the
I
cost
put
down.
Amit on mute again for another
Yes,
5
on mute again.
minutes.
I know, because he was talking about, what did he say?
Palantir. He started talking about Palantir.
He's trolling. You know what? So like now, the next time people are trolling, the next time somebody he gets pissed off at somebody in the chat. Look, he's doing it to us. He's doing it to us
He's
on
got
his
to come
own damn
online
channel.
now. I'm hoping that I'm pissing him off enough to be like, you know what, you assholes. Oh man, yeah.
Hold
So
on, I'm sorry. My wife texted me. She's like, "Is this bad?"
what is it? What is happening? The air pressure in the tires are very low. Yeah, that's bad. You may want to pull over to the side.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
told her.
that's really bad. That's
I was
really
like,
bad.
you drove over a nail. There's no way. You must have driven over
Yeah,
a nail because
yeah,
that thing
yeah.
doesn't
She
go
needs to
from
pull
40
over and get the she needs to
to
get that thing
9.
replaced ASAP.
So I said, go to one of those spots, fill it with air, and see. But now I'm screwed because I have to go to work in an hour,
yeah,
and I'm supposed to take the car. Oh my
yeah.
god! Anyway.
Deal with this. Deal with this. I'll talk to you another time.
No,
But
it's fine.
let's see what happens.
We'll finish that another time. She's at a gas station right now.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
all right. So that was that. But
Tomorrow. Yeah.
I do want to get
Go
to
ahead.
that
Sorry.
question. I do want to get to that Tesla question because people were saying in the chat that they wished like either Vitaly and I were on to be able to answer. Where is this meta here? Let me just go to this. I think this was the question from yesterday. There it is. Let's see. Can you hear this?
Their strategy to pump down market, and like if I was, I'm not actually don't own any shares of Tesla, but if I did, I would be concerned that coming down market would cost.
Was not going to be the end all.
Let's see.
Their strategy to, and watch you guys show all the time.
Let's see.
I can't.
Awesome.
I seem to be lagging. I'm on a lag a little, so I can't see myself.
Justin, is this the same Justin in the
That's
chat?
all right.
Right
You're doing good. But before you keep going, where are you calling from, and when did you start watching the show?
I'm in San Diego.
All right.
San Diego.
Yeah, a little bit of a lag. Go ahead. You can say your question, and then
Let's see the question.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Tesla and their strategy to pump down market. And like if I actually don't own any shares of Tesla, but if I did, I would be concerned that coming down market would cost them sales at the higher end, because like when people want to buy like a really fancy car, they don't want something that everybody else has. Have you guys considered that?
Yeah.
So to summarize, the claim is that if every Patel has a Tesla, you want to be different than every Patel, right?
Exactly.
So, Kris, what do you think about that?
No, I agree. That's why if you look at companies, they have their luxury vehicle segment, and then they have their like everyday car segment, but they're essentially owned by the same parent company, right? Like here's an example. Porsche, right? Porsche is a luxury vehicle. You know it's luxury.
All right, and then they're owned by Volkswagen. Okay, that's a great question. And by extension, not necessarily because like, oh, that's a great question. No one's ever asked that, but because it's indicative of the fact that people still don't understand what Tesla is going for. Hold on. What is she saying? Hold on, let me just tell her where to go. No. Okay. That's not what Tesla is trying to do. Tesla started at the premium end. That's what the Model S was for 8 years. It was a high margin vehicle that was meant to grab the attention, make a lot of money on that vehicle to be able to get fund them so that they can reduce a lower priced vehicle. They're looking to become the Toyota Corolla. People that are buying Toyota Corollas and Camrys right now, do you think they care that there's a million other Camrys on the road or Honda Civics? That's what they're going for. So even though they started out that way, you saying, oh my, the people that want a premium brand, if they want a premium brand, there are premium cars in their lineup, like a Model S is what you would go for if you want to buy that. But people buying Model 3s are not buying them because they're status symbols. And that's not what Tesla's going for. They're looking to get an EV in basically everybody's hands. They want to sell, and they're going to sell 20 million vehicles by
No. What I think he was trying to mention is that there is a premium offering in the Model S and the Model X, right? You get higher quality this, higher quality that, but you also it's the feeling that you are special, that you have something special, right? That is the point that he's trying to make. And I agree with that. The people there, especially when it comes to cars, they're trying to buy sometimes a higher end model of something because of there's vanity. There's a lot of things coming along with it. With Tesla being under just one brand, they're not getting that additional boost, right? They're not getting that brand, that luxury, that premium brand. Even if technically the internals are all the same, it's that feeling of, hey, this is something that I'm paying a higher end for. Like when the Tesla Roadster comes out, it's going to be great. I'm going to love it. It's going to be an amazing car, but at the same time, it's still just a Tesla. Whereas there's no premium feeling for it. You know what I mean? Like,
listen, okay, that's a bit of an understatement that it's still just a Tesla. Tesla is still by far and away there. The car companies today can't make a vehicle as powerful and as efficient as the original Model S. That should tell you something. And how far ahead that they are in terms of the technology needed to make a good, solid EV at an affordable price. That's the goal here. That's the minimum buy-in. You need to make a great EV that's reliable at an affordable price that you also make money on. No other company except for Tesla has been able to figure out how to do that.
Carlos, I'm not disagreeing with you.
But when you say it's just a Tesla, what do you mean? It's just the best EV on the planet. You can't.
No. I'm saying no. What I'm saying is, you should probably have two different brands. One that's ultra premium luxury that you can do a crazy high markup in, and one that's your everyday person's brand that everyone just buys.
That is fundamentally not what Tesla wants to do. They've said it. They're not looking to be. The reason why they were considered a premium brand was the price point and the fact that EV had so little adoption at the time. That's what brought that status symbol of I'm driving a Tesla right now. But that was never the goal. And the price hikes that we saw, if you look at the input costs for Tesla during the same time that the prices were the peak highest, they was very, very high. The average cost to make a Model Y or a Model S or a Model X at the time was also at record highs. That's why we saw record high prices. People like Gary Black and these other analysts that want them to increase their margins and raise their prices were not understanding that the vehicle cost them exponentially more to make at the time. Their goal is not to capture or not be a premium brand. They want to literally be the same as the Japanese car makers that came in the 70s and brought you like
But even the Japanese car makers did the same thing we're just talking about. Toyota created Lexus. Honda created Acura. Then you had what is that thing called? There's almost every car company does this. It's not like it's just like a fluke. It's a brand. It's a model. It's a business model that works.
But
all I'm saying,
works when you're only. Because you have to understand the other car makers, when they sell those lower of the non-premium brands, they're not making that much money on those vehicles anyway. Tesla is already making a lot of money on a profit margin on the vehicles that they sell at the lower price points. Toyota only makes cars. Tesla does not only make cars. So even though that's the main part of the business that we see, they have these other verticals, these energy division, the bot, AI, all these other things. And so they're not looking to price people out. They want as much adoption as possible. And so they're not looking to have that premium markup where they over.
That's the problem. You want that premium markup.
They don't. But that's something that Tesla's fundamentally not interested in. Like, if them say they're just not interested in creating a vehicle to make a bunch of money on it that limits the amount of people that they can. Because why are they going to?
They do.
Because in terms of the mission of getting as many vehicles out there as possible, displacing the 2 billion or whatever it is, ICE
Bro, I don't
vehicles that
know,
are on the
man.
road
You're,
now.
you're too.
It's not
You're
that
too.
they're not interested
You're
in
too.
it. They're just not interested in it. And it's like, maybe it's hard to accept, but they're just not interested in it.
Listen, if there's a way to eke out more profit by offering a higher class of service and a higher class of materials, you should do it, because that is what business value is. I am all about getting to an EV future, but I know at the end of the day, we're all creatures of habit and we're human. Humans have this need to, and the cars are an extension of that person. So what happens is you want to have that segment of cars that you can mark up like crazy and make a shit ton of money on. So as an example, you have a Ferrari, you pull into a date with a Ferrari, you're going to get a lot more, like looks than you're going to get with.
If you want that, then buy a Lucid. If you want
No,
that, go buy a Lucid. But I'm saying, just go buy a Lucid. That I'm just saying to you, that's not what Tesla's interested in.
But
I
Carlos,
understand
why should I buy a Lucid? Why should I buy a Lucid? Why shouldn't I have that ability with a brand of Tesla that has
because that's not what they're interested in. The short answer is that's not what they're interested in. They would rather the reason why you see the higher tier Teslas is basically to develop new technology. Like all the stuff that we're seeing in the Roadster will be to gain efficiencies that'll make their way into future cars down the line. Like that Roadster is going to be a supercar class. It's their Ferrari. It's literally going to do whatever 0 to 60 in 1.5 seconds. It'll have a SpaceX package with boosters on it that get it. It's going to be a ridiculous vehicle. It was that 630 mile range on a 200 kilowatt hour pack, which is like the same kilowatt hour pack that's in a Hummer right now. So imagine that the battery pack size in a Hummer, and the Hummer weighs 9,000 pounds. This thing's probably going to weigh 4,000 pounds because it'll be really small, 2-seater, or maybe squeeze some people in the back. It's just for them to test technology that they can justify the cost and the R&D and the technology, get them out there so that people can see it, and then obviously won't be able to afford it, and then look at the rest of Tesla's lineup, just like the Cybertruck. And what they're going to do then is take the Cybertruck platform and make a van, or they'll make like a more standard looking SUV based on the Cybertruck platform and further monetize that platform, right? Build platforms and then build multiple vehicles on that platform. But in terms of them trying to go out and build a luxury version of it, that's what, if you want to trick out your Model S or Model X, there's plenty of third parties that will offer you add-ons and additions that you can use to get that premium feeling, but it's not something Tesla's into. Although one thing I do see them getting into is the wrap business. Like with the Cybertruck specifically, we're seeing a lot of these wraps. You're seeing them wrap them to look like Rams or F-150s. It's kind of like trolling. But I do think that there will be a significant part of their business will become being able to wrap the Cybertrucks and then eventually some of the other vehicles where they offer these wraps at the time of purchase. So you can customize and make your vehicle feel different in that sense, but it's not going to be necessarily because they're going to add more technology into one car versus the other. The only thing I could see is like something that I do miss is having a rear screen in the back. That's something that's really nice in the Model X. That'd be nice. It's in the refreshed Model 3. It'd be nice if it made its way down to the other vehicles in the lineup. Maybe they offer something like that. That is definitely something that feels premium. But other than that, I don't see what the difference is. I had the Lincoln MKX for a long time, and it was basically the premium version of the Ford Edge. My sister had a Ford Edge. They were basically the same vehicle. The only thing is the Lincoln had a slightly better sound system. It had about 200 to 300 pounds more of soundproofing, so it was a little bit quieter, maybe a little bit more power, but for the most part, they were the same vehicle, maybe different.
Yeah, but they marked it up, and you bought the marked up version, right?
Yeah, no, I bought that one. Yeah, I bought that one at the time, but
that's what I'm trying to say. That yes, you have Tesla, which is your major bread and butter brand, and then you have another brand that's your ultra premium luxury brand that comes with the Bose speakers, that comes with like me. I love the Model 3 and the Model Y. Actually, not the Model 3, the Model Y. I really like. But do you know what I hate about the Model Y? I hate not having a cluster. I freaking hate it. Like I went, I saw the car. It was great. It just had that one screen, but the entire time my father-in-law was driving it, I was like looking to the side, like, man.
Oh, but that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen in virtually every Tesla that you buy. That's not the Model S or the Model X. That's something that you just get, honestly, you just get used to it. Again, it's like people that are bitching about not having the turn signals or having them on the steering wheel, Dude, you just get used to it. Drive it for a week. You're gonna forget all about it. And if you really want to, there are companies that make third-party screens that you can attach there, but I promise you don't need it. At the end of the day, you don't need it. If cars never came with that, you would have never gotten used to it, and you'd have never missed it. This is the thing. A lot of people complaining about like the buttons on the steering wheel. If cars never came that way and they were always on the steering wheel, nobody would bitch about it. You absolutely get used to it. You just got to give it time and not expect it to feel exactly the way that the legacy thing.
I'm scared as shit that something's gonna go wrong with the screen, and then I don't know what speed I'm driving at anymore. Like
that's that's not an. Look, I showed you guys in the chat. I just installed the tilt screening thing. That is something that I do think that they should install on every vehicle. That is such a game changer. Having the Model Y screen tilted 30 degrees towards me and leaned back. That is something that's just amazing, and that's something that I would love to see them offer to people, which they don't, but I could see those things as maybe being part of a premium tier. But you have to understand something too. Tesla is not looking to create yet another line in the factory to create that luxury version of the vehicle. They would look at it as the factory footprint needed to service just that premium brand would be better served to.
I think a lot of this is just branding rather than actual changing up the stuff. Like the way that I would do it is just, I don't know. These are the questions that are very semantical that don't really make a difference in terms of like actual production, but in terms of sales, they make a difference. So as an example, like I think Elon today came out and said that they were going to do advertising now, right? So I think he's flipping a little bit on that.
But they've already been advertising. You see them in magazines, you've seen them at airports, you've seen them. But again, there's no point advertising a vehicle to a customer that they can't afford. They have to get the cost down. And look, when we see the next gen vehicle, the mass market vehicle, hold on, when we see that mass market vehicle, that was the real plan.
Bro, if that's your wife, pick up your wife's call, man, because I do not want her to be stuck on the side of the road on my account.
She's not. It's on my way. Hold on a minute. That's their mass market vehicle. That's the real killer. That's when Tesla, I would say, has fully matured at least the idea of the original master plan. Create a vehicle, use that to fund a cheaper vehicle, use that to fund the mass market vehicle. That's how they get to 20 million vehicles by 2030. It's the next generation vehicle that's coming that what do they call it? That revolutionary new way of manufacturing, right? 50% input, 50% reduction in input costs. That's the vehicle that they've been trying to get to forever, that they would have wanted to do day one, but have needed to have these 10 or 15 year runway within the factory to within the run of the company to get to this point. So that's the vehicle. That's the one. Their Toyota Corolla, the Civic. That's what's coming next. That's the one that you'll have as many Model Ys as you think that you see on the road now. That's the one where you're going to see them absolutely everywhere. And there'll be a status symbol, and people will also be like, I don't give a fuck if it's status symbol. The car costs me almost nothing. It's super reliable. It's great. It's got power. It fits everything that I need. It drives itself. Like, it's my perfect vehicle, and nobody's going to care. Just like nobody with a Civic right now cares. And a lot of people that have those Civics and the Camrys, what do? They go to AutoZone and they buy every accessory for it. Some of them are hideous to make them sound louder, and rims, and they tires. I mean, there's a whole ecosystem of ways of customizing what is a very basic compact car. That same environment will open up.
So let's address a couple of those super chats real quick. That are there. Wife, wait,
we don't have any super chats.
Yeah, we do. There's two. Roadster.
How don't I see that?
Yeah, look at Starred. You go to your live and you go to Starred.
Oh,
no, look at the top right.
Kris. Okay. Roadster is 4-seater, but yeah, I mean 4-seater, even him at the reveal, he was like, you can technically get two other people back there. They're going to be small humans or kids. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And then Google earnings. Google earnings is Google's going to kill it tomorrow, son. That's what's going to happen. Everyone's going to be shocked. Be like, wait, what? Google makes money? It's like, yes, Google makes lots of money. They are in money-making mode. So Google tomorrow, you're going to see a nice bump. At least that's what I think. I don't know if it actually happens, but everything that I've been reading, they've been trimming headcount where they needed to. They've been boosting prices on their YouTube Premium. I don't know if let people even notice that. Been growing YouTube Premium. Advertising is slowing down, but they're optimizing the hell out of their business. AI growth is like crazy. Their cloud growth is there. It's growing, and their revenues are growing in cloud growth, and its operating income is growing. They have share buybacks all over the place. So EPS is going to be boosted. So yeah, Google's like the biggest no-brainer in the market, man. So I don't even know why you wasted $4 on asking that question, Jed.
I know, you could have just
it's going to kill it. It's going to kill it.
And Again, really appreciate you guys staying with us. We had 322 people. That's a lot of people just to hear us sort of bullshit. I would love to do an episode where we don't even talk stock. We just talk some other like lifestyle or general investment philosophy. I've been thinking about a lot of stuff recently. You have a lot of time when you work night sessions too, to just sort of like be alone and think.
You know, this is really funny. Someone put Kris makes sense until he mentions a stock others are in love with, then disagrees. No,
yeah, because then people hate you. People respect you, but if you have if you bring a bear case to a company that they hate, they take it personal.
Yeah. The thing is, look, if it's something that's the thing with me. I don't agree with people just to agree with them, but I don't also disagree with them just to disagree either. Like, it's one thing if these guys were like, yeah, to hell with Google. I'd be like, hey man, that's not true. I'd like Google. Like, I give you the downside, I give you the upside. So, and it works in both ways. So usually, and I think the key formula here when it comes to me and VITALY is if VITALY likes it and I like it, you should like it. If VITALY doesn't like it and I like it, maybe there's some waffling there, but usually I'm right, so it's probably going to go up. But if VITALY likes it and I don't like it, it usually goes down. But don't invest
it.
But the one company that you want to invest in is the company that me and VITALY both like, because that's when you know, like, hey, the stars are aligned right now. The moon and the sun are together. So yeah. So right now, me and VITALY are heavy into Google. We love Google. So that's your answer, Jed. Tomorrow, you're going to see the power of VITALY and Kris's similar thing combined.
So yeah, stock market energy. All right, I got a jet. I got to go fix a tire. And but thank you guys, 311 people now for watching.
Please like and subscribe.
Yes, please like, subscribe, share this. Yeah, share this, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, if you have friends that want to learn about a couple of dudes just talking finances, please, by all means, send it to them. We're really trying to grow. You guys are helping us. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you tomorrow, same time.
Take care.